All right, so we had to get everything going on live. So we are streaming live on Facebook now and ready to go. So welcome. My name is Patricia Williams. I am the Director for Family Services with Louisville Central Community Center. I am just excited that we are able to continue to connect with our youth virtually during this time where we have all been practicing social distance and still trying to find ways that we can, engage, see each other, be able to check in. We know that now moving from a health crisis and pandemic, now we are amidst a social justice crisis. Again, I'm just thankful for a platform where we can allow youth to be heard, where, adults, a lot of times we're out in front and we all have opinions, and sometimes we forget that, the young people are the future leaders of, both our city, our state, and at a national level. So it's important that we hear them and that they have an outlet as well. So this D.O.P.E podcast, which stands for Developing Our Personal Excellence, is one way that we're able to allow our youth to speak out. So you will be able to hear from several young leaders today. It's my pleasure to welcome at this time our coordinator of youth education and fine arts for Louisville Central Community Center. She is amazing. She's hitting the ground running, only being in her role in official capacity starting this week. But she is definitely a pro. She's an artist. She is a graduate from the University of Louisville. I'm a UK fan, so I don't hold it against her, but she is definitely amazing in her own right, and we're just thankful to have her a part of the family. So at this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Miss LaShondra Hood. LaShondra?
Hey, everyone. Like she said, I'm LaShondra Hood. I am the youth coordinator for Fine Arts and Youth Education for Louisville Central Community Center. I am so excited to be a part of the team and to get ready to make some things happen in the community, to pick up where Erica left off and to keep it moving right along. I am so excited to be here, you all. Without further ado, I won't hold us on me. I just want to put a brief pin in what's going on with LCCC and the youth department as far as youth services are concerned. I don't know if you've heard, but we have Shrek Jr., the musical, that will still be going on in spite of all that's going on around us. I think now more than ever, we need a bit of joy, and we are determined to bring it to you this summer. So we have a few things set in place in order to promote safety and health throughout the summer. We'll start off with a virtual camp, and then we'll transition into an in-person camp. And by the end of the summer, we will have a show that will knock your socks off. So we are so excited. We have a lot of newcomers, a lot of new people joining the theater this year. So we're going to train them up and allow them to learn about the arts in a way that will inspire them, not just to be an artist, but to allow the arts to influence any career path. We are so excited. At the end of the summer, look for an amazing show in a way that has not been done here lately. So I'm excited to announce that we will be offering a drive-in theater this summer. So we would love for your kids and your family to come on out. We will promote social distancing with the 6 feet apart with the cars, but it is going to be an amazing show. So we hope to see you all at the end of the summer. Look for some big things coming from the youth of LCCC. Speaking of big things coming from LCCC, as far as our youth department is concerned, LCCC values leadership, and we try to plant that seed as early as possible. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce one of our KAA alums, Mr. Chase Dean. He just recently completed his first semester of college and now is moving on into more of his career path and his calling. I don't know if you all got to see him on the news the other day, but leading the crowd in the midst of all that's going on in the protest, with all that's going on around us. He was leading the crowd, and we cannot be more proud of how he represented not only himself, but LCCC and his community at large. So we thank you. We would like to introduce him and kind of show a bit of that clip of what I'm referring to. So without further ado, if Patricia will take it away, we'll get started with the program.
Sitting by the river in a little tent. Oh, and just like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, and I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come.
Won't change.
Oh, yes it will.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Carney Perks. I am a student of DuPont Manual High School. I'm a senior. I just had a couple questions for Chase regarding just this whole video and just thanking him for his representation for the community as well as the LCCC. So just firstly, I just want to address, of all things that you could have shouted or even just said in that megaphone, you decided to sing. Why was that?
I feel like music is one language. So regardless of what race you are, what gender, what sex you like, anything, everybody, I feel like everybody can come together when it comes to music. And I feel like that's the best way that I can express myself. I can talk for days, but I'm a singer first. And yeah, I feel like people just connect more through music also. And that was the nicest you've been to me, Jessica. Oh.
But regarding like, oh, I'm sorry. In that moment, how exactly did you feel when you were singing?
It's breaking up.
In that moment, how did you feel when you were singing?
I definitely felt overwhelmed. So, a lot when I would sing a lot originally, I would always say, "Oh, I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous." But as I got older, because I thought that made me look a certain way or look like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing," so yada yada yada. But I was definitely nervous, but I feel like it's good because it actually shows that I care about what I'm doing. I care about how this is gonna turn out, and I don't want it to just be looking any type of way. But I also felt really good having everybody there as one. That's why I say, like, situations like this, it's a very confusing thing because I don't want to say there's pros and there's cons, but I would say a pro of something like this happening, the things that have been happening in the community, is the Black community has gotten so tight and like it has come together a lot more. But it's sad that it takes situations like this for the community to come together. So that's the con, that it takes something like this for us to lose somebody, for everybody to come together. So like, and I wanted to quote what Common, he's a rapper, and in the song Glory, he has said, "It takes the wisdom of the elders and young people's energy." So I took that to heart. So yeah.
With your experience in college, as you've completed like your first year, do you think that's changed in the way that you see yourself and just your overall community as just being Black, but also being from Louisville, Kentucky?
I'm sorry, it broke up on my end. Can you say it one more time?
Do you think your experience in college has changed any way you feel about the situation, or you've learned more about yourself, or you've learned more about your history, your culture, anything like that? Do you think that's changed any of that?
I've always been invested in the Black community. Um, Even in high school, I was the president of the Black Student Union. I was a member on the Racial Equity Committee for for Jefferson County Public Schools. And so I've always been invested in the Black community and things that are going on in our community and trying to find ways to help everyone better themselves and better this community. But I would say I was originally just a musical theater major at Western Kentucky University, but I ended up second semester, I ended up picking up another major. So I was double majoring in African American studies and musical theater. And just being in that class, I love learning about Black history. This country was built off of the backs of Black people and people of color. And I feel like it's important that everyone, I don't feel like that it should just be an elective. It used to actually, believe it or not, in JCPS, it used to be a mandatory course, African American Studies. But now it's just offered as an elective. But I think that it's a mandatory thing that everybody should know about Black history and not just learn about it in February. So yes, I've definitely learned more. I've learned more about myself. I'm learning more about my community. I'm more self-aware, definitely more aware of everything that's going on. Yeah, so that answers that question.
Do you have any specific advice for people that are attending these protests, or like how they should be, what they should be promoting, or how they should be dressed, any safety procedures, or just things to keep in mind?
I will say the first day that I went to protest, we were all standing in front of the jail, and the armored police officers, they had their line and they were standing there, and I ended up getting tear gassed along with a lot of people that were there. And people around me, they got shot with like the rubber pellets and stuff like that. So it's definitely, it's dangerous. One thing I didn't understand, which I don't recommend, I understand that people, they like bring their children because they want their children to see what's going on and they want them to be invested. But that a lot of people are bringing their kids to that, so I don't. That's one thing that I didn't agree with at all, especially with the whole tear gas and how that affected me. So I know it would have been 10 times worse. Also, I know a lot of people are saying with, like you said, safety procedures. Well, first, wear something that you can run in because you're most likely going to need it. And people said people who have contacts, if you're wearing contacts, before you go, they prefer you take your glasses and take your contacts out, because if you get maced or that tear gas hits your eyes while you have those contacts in, the contacts can literally melt to your eyeballs and you can become permanently blind. So
listen, I'm gonna cut in just real quick. We want to definitely engage the other young people in the conversation. Thank you, Chase, for agreeing to host today. Again, we want to remind you all that we are streaming live on Facebook. So if you can like and share our live feed, that would be great. Feel free to post questions and comment as the young people are leading this discussion. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it over to Chase to host. Thank you, Jessica, for asking those questions so we could get a better feel for what was going through Chase's mind this week. And we definitely appreciate you using your voice as a positive influence for change during these trying times that we're all experiencing. So Chase.
Hello, like Mr. Lashandra said, I'm Chase Dean. I'm 19. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I just finished my first year at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and I just got accepted as a musical theater major at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Thank you. I would like to ask, I would like to ask Adonis to come on and introduce himself, and then everyone else after that.
My name is Adonis. I'm 12 years old. My school, I come from Ramsey Middle School, but I just got accepted into the gifted program. So, yeah.
All right, Heaven.
You can go ahead to the next person. Heaven's not on. Who's next?
Hello, my name is Chase Ramel Phillips. I'm 13 years old. I'm in the 8th grade and I'm homeschooled. And my school is called Selah Central, but I don't really tell that people because it's a funny name. But
Hello, my name is Kayani Hurd. I am 15 years old. I am now a sophomore at Youth Performing Arts School. And yeah.
Naraya, you want to go next?
Hello, my name is Mariah McGrubbs. I'm 12 years old and I go to JCTMS. And I'm in this, and I'm going to the 7th grade.
Bryson.
Hello, I'm Bryson Sands. I'll be 16 June 19th, and I go to Male High School. I'm a junior.
All right, first I'm gonna start off. With a question. Well, Bryson, since you just got finished, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna ask you first. How do you feel about all the killings of unarmed Black people around the country?
Okay. I'm just glad what's been going on for a long time. The police officers have been killing Black people and getting off free and going back to their normal lives. I'm glad that it's being an awareness is being spread about it and people are seeing the truth about these dirty cops that are doing these things. I'm just glad that justice is trying to be achieved.
Anybody else want to answer that question? Okay. Chase, I'm gonna ask you. Have you been affected personally? Do you think you've been affected personally by racism or stereotypes, or you've been racially profiled in your career?
yes, I was in New York, and me and my mom went to the mall. We were going to go to the movies, and so we were waiting to be in the movies because the movie started at 9, and we got there really early. And we were going to get some ice cream, and my mom didn't feel like walking and going with me, so she gave me her card to go get the ice cream. So then I went to go get the ice cream, and I had the card, and I went to go pay the lady for the ice cream. And then the first time I went up there, she said, "Oh, well, go tell your mother. Go make sure your mother said it's okay that you can get the ice cream." So then I went back, and then I went back, and then I told my mom, the lady told me to come back to see if it was okay if I got ice cream. And then I went back again. She said the same exact thing, and I went back again. Then I came back, and my mom came with me. And apparently she just assumed that I was a bad kid who stole a card from somebody and was trying to buy ice cream. So that's one of my experiences. And also just one experience, it wasn't really that bad. But I was on the airplane and I was sitting next to this dude because my mom was on the other seat and there was this dude sitting next to me. And I was talking, I guess, I don't know, I was talking in a way he doesn't assume Black kids talk like. So I was talking about stuff he didn't assume Black kids would talk about, liking the music that he didn't assume Black kids like to listen to. And I could tell the surprise in his face. He didn't like really say it out loud, but I could tell in the surprise in his face. I experience that pretty often though. When I just go around people, they'll be like, "Oh," it's kind of interesting. Like they just don't expect that. So that's probably the things I've been through. about
Chase
that.
Phillips, so
concern.
how does that make you feel? Just talk a little bit more about how you feel when you've encountered those two very traumatic experiences for just, you're only 13. So how did that make you feel?
So the one in New York, I think I was 9 years old. And that one, I really didn't, I understood that it was because I was Black, but I really didn't, I'll per se, like, suck it in and actually think about it. I kind of just had to, I just kind of pushed it away and tried to make it something else. And then when I turned 10, I started actually thinking about what happened. And the thing that made me really upset was that how she talked about it seemed like she's done the same thing to other kids before. It wasn't just me. It wasn't just me. One day she just had a bad attitude and she was mad at Black people for some reason. How she was talking about it, it sounded like she's been doing this to several people, and it kind of made me kind of frustrated with the world. But I realized that this type of stuff happens often, and I just have to make sure when it happens, I speak up about it when I see it happen to other people, and that I don't allow it to crush me. You know what I mean? I should allow it to process in my body, but not it to crush me, because I beat up on myself a lot. So I start thinking, oh, what did I do? And I'm like, no, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. The thing that she saw my skin color, and my skin color was a threat to her. I did nothing. I was kind. I did nothing wrong. So I had to realize that. And then the second, when the dude was talking to me on the airplane, that one I really didn't take too much offense off, because I kind of felt like, well, at least now he knows that we don't all like the same music, or we don't all talk the same, or you know what I mean? Like, now he knows that we can be different. Just because we're the same color doesn't mean we have to do the same exact thing. So that one, I really didn't, take a lot of offense to it. I took a little bit of offense to it, but not a lot. So that's how I felt about those two things.
Jessica, I'm gonna ask you the same question. Am I on mute? Oh, I'm not. Okay. Jessica, have you been affected personally by racism, or stereotypes have been racially profiled?
Mostly just stereotypes, honestly, just because people, I guess, perpetuate this idea if you talk a certain way, or the way that you carry yourself in especially like a professional setting, that they're surprised that you are articulate per se, or you know what you're going to say and you're more prepared. And I feel like that expectation has like carried with me throughout like pretty much all my academic career. And like there have been incidents where like I won't say a specific incident, but this year within itself, like there was a teacher that used the term, the N-word, during class as a term of like teaching students. And then like when I came to him and spoke to him about it and how I felt about it, he basically told me that it's his class and that he's allowed to do so. And then the very next day there was an agreement that came out where everybody had to you had to sign whether or not you were okay with these lists of terms to come out. And like the terms had the N-word, other derogatory slurs on there that they wanted parents to sign, not students. But the students are the ones that are absorbing this information. And mind you, I was a junior, so I'm 17. And the fact that you're saying that in this classroom, I'm about to age out of the system, just for you to feel comfortable in a setting where you can say that, I honestly, if it's not necessary, it's not necessary. And I just felt like in those cases, it just wasn't. And that teacher was not a person of color nor a Black person at all. And I just feel like you can't put a child in a space to learn, and especially a space that you're supposed to be making them feel like this is a diverse community. You're supposed to be comfortable. You belong, yada, yada, yada. But you're saying these terms and assuming that I'm not going to say anything, and it's just not what it is. So that's like one instance, but all the time, just the way that I carry myself and the way that I sound, a lot of people, the whole acting white, sounding white, when there shouldn't be any comparison at all. Honestly, it's a persona, it's the way that you work and the way that you live, but I don't believe there's such thing as acting white, acting Black, and people continue to push that, and I don't understand it, but those are all my instances.
All right. Let's see. Does anybody want to talk about, do you think the civil rights movement in the 60s, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X, do you feel like that they changed anything that's going on now? Anybody want to talk about that, Kayani?
I feel like it has made a change, but at the same time, I feel like, because even then, protests were peaceful, but still, the officers just took it as they're rioting. All these animals rioting, and yeah, it's made a change, but I feel, I don't know. It just feels like it's still the same way.
I would have to agree. I feel like there was a change. I definitely feel like those leaders laid the foundation. I feel like they laid the foundation for what we need to pick up, our generation needs to pick up. And honestly, and like I've said this before with older people that I've talked to, it's no knock to the generation before me or before them, but I don't feel like that the generation before us did a good job or a well enough job of really informing us everything that we would actually, in my instance, I know that like my mom had told me a lot of things that were going on, that would go on in my life. I personally experienced things and went to her and told her. But as a whole, I feel like seeing our generation and how they react and how they respond to a lot of things, I don't feel like there was good enough communication. But I definitely feel like young people are starting to realize a lot of the stuff that is going on, a lot of the things that I see on social media, a lot of people speaking out, and there's mainly young people that I'm seeing at these protests. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of these young people we are just as upset, just as tired as everyone else who was going through the exact same thing. So I agree. Has anyone here participated in any of the protests? Oh, my computer froze. I don't know if y'all can hear me or not.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So, okay, sorry. But I haven't actually participated in one, but I have witnessed one. So I got to see, like, people with different backgrounds coming together. It was real peaceful. Then as the night goes on, things start to happen. And yeah, it was just nice to see people with different backgrounds trying to get on the right side of history.
So we've got a couple of questions on Facebook, and I know we've got a couple of hands too, so we need to let you all speak, and we definitely will. I do want to add a comment that you all might want to add to. So the question about whether or not we feel like the civil rights movement, with Dr. MLK Jr. and others, if it changed anything. That question came from my 17-year-old daughter who jumped off of here because she chickened out. But her response to that question after she told me to put it on here was that, she feels like we're still in slavery now, but just in a different way, because Black people are being held down, and how we have to work 2 to 3 to 4 times harder to try to get what's easily accessible for white people. So you all feel free to comment on that. I think Jessica, you were first, and then after that, then Chase, you can comment on whatever you were going to say.
Well, I completely agree with a lot of the opinions that were already said, but I just feel like too, it's just a different era just because of social media has played like the largest impact. People are coming in being real bold about the way that they feel, whether that be if they feel like certain racial groups don't deserve justice and some do. Like, we've been really vocal about it regardless of those opinions. So I feel like sometimes it's hard to compare just because it's two different eras, and the way that we go about handling business now versus what they did then is a lot different. A lot of people like to get Twitter fingers and typing this, typing that, but won't come out and protest. Or even if they choose not to protest, they're not even signing petitions. They're not calling in, but they want to post a black square. Like, that's not how we handle things now. I think is way different. So it's harder to compare whether or not they made change happen. I feel like they did, but it just wasn't as, I guess, long lasting as we expected it to be, just because of all these different advancements in like technology and the way we use social media.
Okay, so I'm gonna put this question out there. So in case you want to comment on this and others can as well. So someone chatted, as youth, what do you feel that you can do to make change in the community? And as adults, how can we help you?
I'll go first.
And I'm sorry, Chase Phillips had his hand up too. I keep forgetting we got two Chase. So he had a comment. So, but I'll put the question out there too because it was in the chat.
Well,
Okay. I will. Well, I'm sorry. I'm on mute.
I was going to answer the third question. And I do feel like they changed something. I'll say they changed. I feel like they changed, like, I guess the physical, how people like physically in like the public treat, I guess, per se, other people, but they didn't really change the mindset of the people who were doing it. I feel like they might have made people realize that they're not supposed to do it in public, but not actually change the mindset. So, and I feel like what's different in this time is that I feel like back in the 60s and stuff, if they didn't support it, they weren't going to be there. But I feel like now people are going there, some people, not a lot of people, but some people are going there just because they want to show that they're there when really they don't really support it in the first place. And they're just there to post it on Instagram, or they're just there to post it on Twitter. And I feel like that's another difference, is because back in the 60s, if you didn't really support it, you weren't going to be there. And it's that simple. But now I feel like, oh, I should be there because people are going to get upset with me if I don't go there on my followers, you know? So that's my response to question 3.
I completely agree. I like piggybacking off of what you just said. I feel like some people are definitely going for the wrong reasons. And I would say that, and when I say the wrong reasons, I'm not even talking about the riots, because I personally feel like I wouldn't take part in the rioting, and that's just me, but I'm not going to try to condemn or talk down on somebody for reacting on how they feel in the situation, or how like something that's happening to them, because I'm not them, so I can't. Everybody responds differently. So maybe that's the best way that they know how to cope, or they feel like, a lot of people feel like, and I agree, like I said, this country was built by people and people of color. So they are thinking, well, we built this, so it's ours, we can break it down if we want to. So I definitely, but when I say with the wrong reasons, I was actually just on a phone call with somebody. And this person, like, it from previous conversations that we've had, it just didn't seem like they were too invested in a lot of things that were going on in the Black community, which is fine. You don't have to be pro-Black all the time. That's perfectly fine with me. But when I was talking to them, they said, well, to be honest, I just want to get tear gassed. I'm like, so you're going because you want to be able to get tear gas and want to be able to post and say, hey, I went to this protest and I got tear gas. So that's what I say about the wrong reasons. Like if there's no true motive behind why you're going, or you actually don't genuinely feel something about this or this movement, then just distance yourself. A lot of because I've been really going to the protests. I've been almost every night except for last night and one other night. I've been every night doing the marches. And in the beginning of the marches, they would always say, when we're walking, do not, they would say it on the megaphone so everybody can hear, do not tear nothing up. Regardless of how you feel, try to keep it inside. Do not tear anything up. Because if you start to tear stuff up, it makes us look bad. And there's a lot of outside parties. There's a group from New York who bought one-way tickets here to Louisville, Kentucky. And they said they bought one-way tickets here because their intentions were to stay as long as they needed to stay for justice to be served for George Floyd. And I know they have, like, I appreciate where they're coming from and the support, but they were doing it the wrong way and by tearing up our city. So yeah, that's where I was on that. But they would tell them, do not tear anything up, because if you tear it up, we're gonna tear you up and give you to the police. So there's that. So, and every night it's been fine. Like we've been marching, nobody other than the night that I got tear gas, every night has been fine. We 8 miles. We started in Jefferson Square downtown. We walked all the way to the Highlands and through Eastern Parkway and back downtown. And we walked right by the National Guard and police officers, and they kneeled with people. They shook their hands, they hugged people. And I feel like that's what everybody is begging for, just a level of understanding and sympathy and for everything that is going on. Like, we're not crying out for no reason. We're not making this stuff up. There's video proof for a lot of the stuff that's going on, and there's no justice that is being served. And one thing that I continuously hear is, well, people are doing all this because this cop killed a Black man, but nobody's really saying anything about Black on Black crime. People have continuously been talking about Black on Black crime, and it is a huge issue in the Black community, which is something that really needs to be fixed. That's one thing I never really understood, that as Black people, we know what we are going through on a daily basis. So why add on to that? So that's where I was with that. But the difference is, if I was to kill somebody, I'm going to jail. But the issue is, this officer, this white person is killing this Black person and they're getting off. And that is the issue, and there's no real justice that's being served. So that's where I was on that. Did anybody want to, were there any more questions from Facebook or?
So not right now, but let's bring Naraya and Adonis into the conversation. We haven't heard from you guys. So Naraya, why don't you unmute and just let us know, how are you being affected, or have you been affected with what's happening with the protests and the killing? What are your thoughts?
I kind of agree and I kind of don't agree with the protests, because some protests can be really peaceful. But then I saw this one video where they were protesting and they burnt down the flag, like the flag. That's kind of disrespectful, because like a lot of people served, and that's what we're supposed to be proud of, America. And then they just like threw it in the trash and like burnt it down. And it's like everybody keeps saying and people keep saying all lives matter, and then like, yeah, they do, but right now Black lives matter a little bit more, because y'all not the ones getting killed for y'all skin color. And people keep saying we are the same, when people should be saying we should be the same, because we're definitely not the same. No matter how many times people are going to say we're definitely not the same, and we'll never be treated the same.
I knew you had something to say. Come on with it. Out of the mouth of babes. Adonis, you want to comment?
I totally agree with her. My understanding is like my mom, she went to they're protesting down there in Louisiana. She told me that their protests down there, they're very peaceful. But up here there is like just I don't know how to explain it. It's just unexplainable of how like it's how how crazy it is about how the protests are going. And that's just my opinion about what's going on. I think that it should like I know that the protests, they will keep happening until there's a change, and I don't know what that change is going to be, but I think the police, they should try harder to make that change happen.
And I wanted to piggyback off Naraya because I feel like nobody actually started saying all lives matter until a person of color, like things started to happen between people of color. And I just feel like as far as the Black community, our voices have been silenced, and it's a problem. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Can I comment on what Mariah and Keani were saying? Well, how I feel about the protests per se, I feel great about the peaceful protests. I think it's great. I think it's a great way to make sure change actually happens. And so far about the riots, I feel a particular way. Sometimes I feel this way, sometimes I feel this way. So for example, like what Naraya said, them burning like the American flag and doing stuff like that, I kind of feel like that was unnecessary. But like people busting windows and doing that type of stuff, I wouldn't suggest them doing that, but the windows can be replaced in a week, but somebody's life can't be given back. That's what I feel like right now. I feel like, okay, if you bust 2 windows, okay, but her life, Breonna Taylor's life, George Floyd's life, all the other people who have been killed for no reason, their lives is not coming back. The window can be replaced probably in a week or something. So that's how I've been feeling right now. And then on the other hand, I feel like people are just coming in from the city and doing this, and we're not doing this to our own city. So that's another way I feel, but that's how I feel on that.
As far as like burning the flags, I don't know how to feel about that. It's also okay. It's kind of similar to like the Pledge of Allegiance in school and things, and like the national anthem. It's like burning flags. I feel like America hasn't really done much to serve Black people in it. So I'm just like, it's not for us. America wasn't built for us, so I don't know how to respect the flag and all those things. It's justice for all of us, not including Black people, but I don't know. As far as protesting, I agree with Trace Phillips, because the windows can be replaced, the lives can't, and yeah.
Just to agree pretty much with like all of you, there are just other ways to protest that people don't think about. But it's like signing petitions. You can still call all these different representatives. You can still like something I'm working on right now is like preparing bags for protesters that have goods that they may need, whether that be milk, water, or whatever the case may be. And those are just different ways to help out if you don't feel comfortable coming out and stepping out into protest. But a lot of the time, like the media has a big role in the way that they portray some of these protests, because a lot of times those people that are showing you the flag being burned or somebody getting hurt or all these people being like ran over or attacked, a lot of those times they're not there in the protest. They're not the ones helping out marching. They're just there to get media coverage. So sometimes you just have to pay attention to that and just like what you choose to consume.
I'm definitely late, but Miss Patricia, to answer that question that the person had asked about what can adults do. Oh, you remember what the question was? What can adults do to help aid us?
So yeah, what can you all do? What can you lead in order to make positive change? But then what can we do to support you? What do you all need? Yeah.
I definitely feel like platforms like this are needed. I feel like if I feel like a lot of adults feel like because they're adults and that they've been through certain things that they have the answers and they know what's right. But with all the stuff that is going on right now in this country and around the world, I mean, I feel like I know a lot of people my age and even younger than me on this podcast who who definitely will have answers and solutions or suggestions of things that can be done to help with everything that is going on. I feel like just giving kids a platform like this and actually taking in and listening to what they're saying will definitely help a lot.
So someone else asked a question on Facebook, and feel free as you all continue thinking to go back as far as solutions and adding on to what Chase just said. We definitely, Louisville Central Community Center, we're committed to doing this platform as much as we need to allow you to be able to have a voice and then to be able to share what you all are saying to whoever we need to and whoever will listen. But someone asked if you saw people destroying properties in the street, what would you say or what would you do?
Can I answer the
I would
question? And
I'm sorry.
it's okay. You can go. It's okay. You can go.
Ladies
Okay,
first,
so I was gonna say this, and I was gonna comment on the last question. Well, wait, what was the question again? What would we do if people were harming the
destroying property or doing anything like the stuff that's been going on with them?
I would just tell them to stop, because then the police would think that like we're even more big of a threat, and we're really not. And they'll think that we're a threat because of our skin color. And since we're doing the unpeaceful protests that other people are doing, and then if they start harming stuff, then that'll give them a bigger reason to start locking us up in jail. And my comment on another thing was, how would we like show them something like that? Well, I would say we could start mentioning them that Black people made like a lot of inventions, like the traffic light, stuff like that. And then cars will not be safe without us. And then yeah. And another comment it would be like taking up for ourselves, because people on the internet are being like, if you don't like it, leave. And I would just like go up to them and say, we don't like it here, and you stole us from Africa, and we would have already been in Africa, and you brought us to America. And then that's how it all started. And yeah, that's all I want to say.
All right. I'm tripping up over my words. There was Miss Patricia. I think you had just read a question that it just came from Facebook. I forgot what it was already. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We got another one. We're going to move to this one. So it says, as children, if you had a friend or a classmate ask you, it's not Black, how can I help with racial injustice? What would you tell them? So I know you talked about maybe some of your white friends, Chase Dean, and others as well. I mean, I have friends that are not the same color as me, and they reach out and say, what can they do to help? What would you tell them?
Okay, with the protest, I'm gonna say that I had to realize this actually just recently, because one of my closest friends, who I consider like my brother, he's not Black. But when I was going to the protest, I felt like, hey, like you should have been here with me, yada yada yada. But I can't feel any type of way towards him, because one, he's not like I can't expect him to feel the same way that I do. I know that he feels strongly about it, but I can't expect him to respond, like I said, back with the riot and the protesting. I can't expect him to respond the same way that I would respond. I would respond with me going. And he's always been supportive. So I've never, like, that him not going wasn't something I was like, okay, well, you cut off. I would definitely say one way that they can help is just being supportive. Even if you like have families, I know a lot of people, they have families, so they don't want something bad to happen to them to where they can't go back to their family, which I completely understand. A lot of people are scared about corona that's going around. I understand that, but there's, like Jessica said, there are many different ways for you to spread awareness and to get the word out there and for things to be done, even if you don't go to the protest. So I just say just being supportive in general. And if you're gonna speak with us and not for us. So yeah. Did anybody I wanted to bring up the Breonna Taylor case. If anybody had any wanted to talk about that or their point of view on that or how they
I think Chase had his hand up.
all right, Chase.
I wanted to respond to the question that Miss Patricia asked about if somebody asked if a friend of yours or somebody asked you that's not Black, how can they support? The first thing is, I guess, treat us how you would treat another white person. It's kind of that simple. Like, don't treat us differently and just put us in the box or discriminate us. If you saw a Black person running down the street and you might think in your head, oh, is he running from the police or something? Just that small thought that you have in your head. Just make sure when you think that thought, you check it really quickly. It's just those small type of things, like oh, if you see a Black person, oh, he has like, I don't know, a Maserati, and you think in your head, oh, is he a drug dealer or something? Check that thought in your head and think, well, no, just because he's Black doesn't mean he's a drug dealer. You know what I mean? It's just those small type of things. Like, if you saw a white person with a Maserati, would you automatically think that he's a drug dealer? No. So I feel like that's one of the things they can do. Just make sure they treat us like how they would treat another white person. And then another thing, like Jessica said, signing petitions, stuff like that. Like, I signed like 10 yesterday. So just doing that type of stuff. And like Miss Jessica also said, don't just post a Black square on Instagram and not actually put action into changing something. I saw this article and it said that 22 million people did the Black square, but only like 11 million have signed the petition to sign petitions and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of crazy. You're gonna put a Black square in on Instagram and you think that's all you're supposed to do. Putting a Black square on Instagram is not gonna do anything. And matter of fact, I saw a video that said that it's also, people think it's a way of silencing us because since we're doing the Black square, people are not talking about the things that are going on and that we should not do the Black square because we're supposed to promote what's going on and make sure people know about it. So just putting a Black square on Instagram is not going to change anything. So, yeah.
Go ahead, Jessica.
So to speak on the Black square, but also about the Breonna Taylor case, firstly, with the square, the original idea behind it was not just to cut off and silence from social media in the first place. It was also just to promote like Black stories, Black art, Black anything. So it wasn't just necessarily to cut off from social media. You were supposed to take control of that narrative and put out information about safety procedures, things you need to know about what's going on, but it all was information about that. So I feel like that's something that was misconstrued, that you were just supposed to post something, go away for that 24 hours and then pop back up. But really it was supposed to be a time for you to like control the algorithm where you can pick and choose what type of content that you want to put on there that promotes this idea of Black Lives Matter and the way that we want to like, I guess, promote the movement. But onto the Breonna Taylor case, I just feel like for me, just being a Black woman and being from here and just knowing like what all is going around it, honestly, it's just like just surreal because it's like a lot of times the stories you see in the media, it's not all the time African American women. Every now and again, I'm not excluding like the most important cases like Sandra Bland and whatnot, but it's just so surreal to see, but also just kind of scary because that could have been you or that could have been somebody like you. Not to discount those other cases, but just to know that that could have been your story or that could have been your narrative is just crazy to think, because I think us being from Louisville or us being from just like Kentucky, sometimes we get in this bubble where we're like, nothing really happens here. So, I mean, it is what it is. People think we're just like country, but nothing really happens. So for that to be on a national scale and then like an international scale where everybody knew about the case, that was just surreal to see, but also just kind of like, wow, there's so much work to be done.
I definitely agree with what you were saying. I feel like the media definitely plays like a huge part in this. And society is going off of what they're saying. So, and that's why I'm happy that a lot of people, because some people were getting, like the woman who recorded the George Floyd murder, a lot of people are coming at her, which I don't understand. They're coming at her trying to figure out why she didn't do anything. But I'm trying to figure out what exactly could she have done besides standing there and recording. Because these are police officers. They would have did to her exactly what they were doing to him. And if she tried to retaliate in any way, they have even more of a right to try to kill her. So I was frozen. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm sorry. We can hear you now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, with you can hear me now? Everything's good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that's a huge problem that happens, I feel like in the media a lot. They tend to depict Black people or people of color negatively, and white people as these innocent people. One thing that I've noticed, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but when situations like this, like with George Floyd or David McAtee and just all these different situations, they try to dig up dirt on things that they have done in their past. But I'm confused on if we have video proof and we can sit here and everybody's sitting here looking at the exact same thing. What does something that he did 5, 10, 15 years ago have to do with what's happening right now in this video? That's what I'm just not understanding that. And like when, say if something happens, like a Black person gets arrested, is one thing that I've noticed, or something else happens and they're brought on the news, I know that's negative. They tend to use these people's, or murders like this, they will use their mug shots for pictures to show the media. But if it was a white person, I've seen plenty of times with white people, I forgot his name, but he was one of the many school shooters. They were using pictures of him posing in front of his house and people's their prom pictures, and trying to make them look like and talking about they have a mental illness. And that seems to be a huge thing that is run to a lot, is that they have some kind of mental illness. So that's why they're doing this. And when Black people are doing this, they're thugs and they're criminals. We as a Black community were just called, or the rioters were just called thugs by the President of the United States. So, but the same people who were protesting and rioting, doing the same thing because they couldn't get a haircut or go to the beach, these are normal people. These are innocent people. And I'm looking at pictures of the protests that are going all over for the killings that are going on. Not being
Okay,
able to go to
Chase.
the beach or to the gym.
No, you're okay. You froze, but then you just came back in. So I think we can hear you now.
Oh,
You froze for just like 2
what,
seconds.
I was saying
You're
that
making
people,
some very good points, though. Yeah.
protesting about the beach and the gym. There were no police officers. Like, you didn't see any police officers in sight. You saw a couple police officers standing there, but there were no police cars, and the officers line up and then National Guard. And this is my last thing, and I'm gonna let somebody else talk. I'm sorry. One thing that I had also seen, this girl on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok much, but she had made this video about how the media compares Black people and white people, and how with Black people, I mean, I'll start with the white people like she did. She says that like she had all these different incidents, like they were rioting because their favorite like athletic team won, like their sports team won a game. So they're lighting cars and sofas on fire in the middle of the street and flipping cars and doing all this other stuff, but they're just passionate about the sport that they like. But we're actually protesting about being murdered at a very scary rate. Black people are ending up missing on a very, especially Black women, on a very fast rate, and it is very scary. And I fear for literally for myself and Black women in general. That's why I've always, one of my favorite quotes, I actually had it, I would say it to my mom sometimes. It was respect and protect the Black woman at all times. And so it's just things like that. It's just really kills me. I don't know. I just understand, but I feel like it's a, like I said, like Sam Cooke said in the song, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Up to us.
So as we start wrapping up, we're going to take some final thoughts because it's about 6:05, and we will definitely get back on next Thursday. So don't feel like this will be the last conversation, but just based on a lot of what Chase just said, I would love to hear if any of you have experienced an encounter with the police, or if your parents have had a conversation with you about how to respond if you're approached by a police officer. Chase Phillips.
I'm going to answer the question you asked, but I also wanted to piggyback on what Chase just said, is that he was saying about how, okay, a white person would get arrested and it would be viewed as, well, how I'm saying it, a white person will get arrested and it would be viewed as a mistake that they did 5 or 10 years ago. Because 5, 10 years ago, but when a Black person gets arrested and it's 5, 10 years ago, they get arrested only one time. Now they're viewed as a criminal. While that white person who got arrested 3 times is viewed as somebody who made a mistake, and he can still rise up and still be successful in what he does. But if a Black person just gets arrested one time, no, he's not going to be able to rise up and do with the things the white man could do. So that's all I just wanted to say about that. And then, yes, my mom and my dad have had talks to me about how to respond to the police, and also my church. We had some conversations about it. And I just kind of learned first that if a police is coming from you, make sure that you have your stuff ready, like your ID and stuff like that. Or if you can't get ready in time, make sure that you say everything that you're doing. So instead of just pulling out your ID, make sure you say, officer, I'm going to be using this hand to pull out my ID, to make sure that they know that you're doing what you're saying. And I also learned about how to make sure, even if they're doing something wrong, to make sure that you still have to respect them, because they feel entitled. So even if they're the one in the wrong, you still have to take it from a point of they're entitled to how they're supposed to be treated and stuff like that, and other stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Bryson or Kayani, any thoughts on that? Have y'all been talked to or been approached? I know y'all a little bit older, so.
I just want to say this first. As far as I know it's like as far as civil rights, I feel like they laid the groundwork, but we just felt like, okay, we can vote now. Like years past, we thought like racism was kind of, gone, but we had a black president. We thought, things were changing, but then Trump kind of revealed because everybody got, they feel like they could be racist freely now because he's president. So we got to keep on, trying to make change and things like that. But as far as the police, I just feel like I just want to feel, be respectful and things like that, because I feel like even though I'm not a like criminal or thug, they may view you in that way. So I just try to make sure that, I, comply with everything they do, say, and just try to, because your parents are really, okay, you want justice and things like that, want to speak up. You may be, angry or scared, but your parents want you to come home. So just try to comply with everything they tell you to do and things like that. But I want to, just display to the police that I'm not a thug, criminal, anything like that. So I want to just, show that Black young men can, be, have manners and polite and things like that. Just, to make that clear.
Awesome. Kayani?
So kind of like piggybacking off of Chase and off of Bryson. Not everyone should see us as a threat. Black men and Black women, or just people of color in general. But yeah, I have had a talk with my mom. She just said comply with the police officer, and like how Bryson was saying, you may be angry at the moment, but you just gotta let things take its course and just be respectful, and life will just go the way you expect it.
All right, Naraya, final thoughts?
Well, if you don't know what to do, then you can watch the movie The Hate You Give. Like in the beginning, it tells you what to do, like put your hand on the dashboard and then tell the officer what you're doing, and then just be calm and respectful.
What movie is that?
The Hate You Give.
The Hate You Give, she said. Adonis, final thoughts?
My final thoughts. I totally agree with what everyone's saying. If I ever come in an encounter with the police, I know for a fact that I would try my best to stay the most respectful I can, because I know that right now I could possibly die right now. So I would try my best to stay as respectful as I can, and I will try my best to state everything that I'm going to do. And that's my final thoughts.
Jessica, final thoughts?
Just pretty much exactly that. Now that I'm driving, I just know what that experience is like. And just staying calm, because a lot of times you being nervous makes them nervous because they already perceive you to be one way. So for you to be nervous, sometimes you just need to be calm in that situation and make sure you're doing your thoughts. I just feel like as a community, as a Black community, we are trying our best to do what we can, but I feel like people of color need to step up as well, because I don't see that often in terms of like Hispanic, Latino, and Asian Americans, or even just other people of color that are just not stepping up and making it a Black issue when it's not just a Black or white issue. It is an issue of all people, and it's for the sake of our humanity and what we believe in as fulfilling justice. So I just feel like we just all need to step up as a unit. This is just not a Black and white issue.
Absolutely. Chase, Dean, final thoughts?
I would definitely say with situations like that, like my mom has, I have law enforcement in my family, and so like immediate family. So I've definitely had these conversations, and especially I would say, if you know that you haven't done anything wrong, even if they're asking you to get out of the car and do all this extra stuff, do everything that they're saying and do it slowly, and do everything that they're saying. Because even if they put you in handcuffs, and take you to jail and you still don't know what is going on. It is more important for you to be alive, to be able to talk about or fight for yourself instead of you dead on the side of the road, not being able to say anything. So I would go along with it, even if it involves me getting arrested. But once I'm there, then that's when you start fighting. Well, not fighting, but like fighting for yourself. Like,
we got you. Amen. LaShondra, do you want to give any final thoughts or comments?
I just wanted to take the time to say thank you all for sharing your thoughts as young people. I think you all were very articulate in how you all communicated your thoughts from your perspective. I think it is so important to give you a platform to be able to speak your truths, and not just silenced because of your ages, because your feelings are valid. And I appreciate you taking the time and having the courage and the strength to be able to talk about these issues. It's not just through a TV screen. It's not make believe, but it's happening to Black bodies every day, and it's not limited to age or generations or sex, as far as what can be done to our Black bodies. But it's time for a change, and I appreciate you all for sharing. I think Whitney Houston talks about how our children are our futures, and so even when my generation or the generation before us are slowing down, I think as long as we can keep people like you all on the forefront, we're able to pass the baton so that one day Dr. Martin Luther King's dream will come to pass. So thank you all for sharing.
You guys are definitely amazing. Very well said, LaShondra. I echo her comments. We will be back on next Thursday at 5, streaming live. And I think there's no better way to end than to let's pull Mr. Chase Dean back up. And then you all can feel free to go ahead and get ready. Hold on one second.
The river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. It's been too hard living, and I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I go to the movie and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Come on, Chase. Oh, yes, it will. Then I go to my
All righty. So I guess it stopped just in time for me not to start crying. So thank you all. Take care of yourself. Be safe. And we will talk to you guys soon. A change is going to come.